Baseball is back, the All-Star break is over, so that means we're diving back into that waiver wire. We're going to go over 3 waiver wire options that I think could be great additions to your teams for the second half of the season. We're going to have our shallow league segment as well, and this is great for people in 8-man leagues, 10-man leagues, and some 12-man leagues, so make sure to check out these guys, see if they're still floating around your wire, because I think they can be legit difference makers for the second half of the season. I've also added in a new segment for this video since the waiver wire column was a little bit shallower due to the All-Star break, but it'll be players that potentially could skyrocket, their value could skyrocket after the deadline if things fall their way. And lastly, there won't be a recap segment this week. We'll catch up with it in next week's video. Because of the All-Star break, I like to have at least 2 weeks of games before we review these guys. Thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate it. If you have a question, comment down below. We'll reply to everyone, every single video. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know if you don't. Let me know if you want to see something different. Again, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm a big boy. I can take it. So without further ado, I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. First up, we have an exciting young rookie who fractured his forearm in late April, and he's finally starting his rehab today, almost 3 months later, and that's Luke Keaschall from the Minnesota Twins. In his very limited first taste of the majors, he went 7 for 19 with 3 doubles, 2 RBI, 5 steals in just 7 games played. The most impressive thing with Keaschall, though, was he only struck out twice while walking 5 times in those 7 games. A big thing that I always look at with prospects and their call-up or when they're about to debut is how much they're striking out in AAA, because when they get up to the majors, you can expect their strikeout rate to climb at least by 5%. So if they're already in the late 20s, early 30s in AAA, usually that means they're going to struggle in their first taste of the majors. Now, it's not an exact science by any means. It's just a good base to go off. So with Keaschall only striking out 19% of the time in AAA in 2025, and then he had that good start in those first 7 games in the majors, it's a very promising outlook for a young player like him. He's hit 5 balls over 100 miles per hour with a 41% hard hit rate and 2 barrels. I don't think he'll be a big power guy, but he can surely help in hits, OBP, and steals. Now is the time to stash him and potentially reap those rewards in August and into September, especially if you're in need of hits, OBP, and steals. He's one of my favorite under-the-radar stashes for hitters in 12-team leagues right now. I also wasn't intentionally rolling up the sleeve. I don't know what's happening there. I just looked back at the film, but we're going to keep it there. I gave you a free ticket to the gun show. Next up, we're going with another player who's been on the IL for quite some time, but it's Spencer Arrighetti, Mr. Spaghetti, starting pitcher from the Houston Astros. So I have mentioned this guy a couple times in the past month or so. So he's finally going to start his rehab assignment next week, as per Dana Brown, the Astros GM. Now with Arrighetti, his injury was a freak accident.
It didn't even make me feel better about it. I was just like, yeah, that'll never happen again to anybody else, ever. I put my hand up and it caught my hand.
He took a comebacker right off the thumb, broke it, and has been out since. Now with a freak injury like that, when he comes back, he should be fully up to speed. He shouldn't have any issues with velocity or any of his pitch mix. Unlike a pitcher coming back from, say, Tommy John or has a big shoulder injury where the velocity could be down or it takes him a while to build back up, may even not be till the following year. So with Arrighetti, we shouldn't expect any lingering issues like that. When he's fully stretched out, he should be completely 100% back to normal. Mr. Spaghetti had an up and down rookie campaign ending with a 4.53 ERA, but an impressive 171 Ks in 45 innings. He struggled with his control, evidenced by his 10.3% walk rate, which was the 3rd worst among starters who pitched over 140 innings last year. His expected stats were a lot more friendly, with an expected ERA around 4 and an expected FIP around 4 as well, suggesting that he did deserve better results. He just got a little bit unlucky. He has an extremely deep arsenal, consisting of a 4-seamer that hovers around 94 miles per hour, but with elite extension at 7.3 feet. Again, with that elite extension, it adds on at least 2 to 3 clicks of speed, because it's just that much closer that the ball's being released relative to the batter. He follows that up with a cutter, curveball, changeup, and sweeper. He can attack lefties with the curveball and changeup and has a sweeper for the righties. I think there's tons of strikeout potential here, tons of opportunity for quality starts, tons of opportunity for wins. Houston's going to rack up wins. I really like his upside for 12-team leagues, and I think Mr. Spaghetti can be a difference maker down the stretch. Next up, we have a starting pitcher off the Minnesota Twins with a first name that I don't think I've ever heard before seeing his name, and that's Zebby Matthews. So ZZ Top Mr. Zeb made his first rehab start on Sunday as he works his way back from his shoulder injury, and man, was he electric. 4 shutout, no-hit innings with 9 strikeouts on just 56 pitches. He'll definitely need a couple more starts to be fully stretched out, work his pitch count up into the 80s, into the 90s. In his 4 outings in the majors this year, Matthews flashed that immense strikeout potential, but his stats looked ugly with a 5.21 ERA and a 1.47 whip in 19 innings. But his expected stats suggested that Zebby should have fared a lot better. I could care less about a pitcher's ERA though, because that's in the past, and what we deal with is in the present and the future. I like Matthews' pitch arsenal. His fastball hovers around 97 miles per hour, but he actually touched 99 in this latest rehab outing. It has average extension and vert, but he can locate it well. The slider doesn't have huge break to it, but he keeps it down and away and piles up whiffs with it. The cutter is a solid strike pitch for him, and his curveball and changeup are good to attack lefties with. I think there's a superb arm in there who can just absolutely pile up strikeouts, and I am very intrigued to see what he can do in the second half of the fantasy season. And similar to Arrighetti, this is a guy I'm trying to stash everywhere. Go Zebby! Also, quick shout out to Sean Manaea before we jump into the next segment. If he's still floating around in your league, I know his roster rate's a little higher than what we usually do for this big waiver wire section, because I think it's above 50%. But man, he's looked pretty good in his first 2 starts back, working his way back from that injury. And again, if we go back to last year when he started to mimic Chris Sale's delivery, he's been superb. The new arm slot helped the effectiveness of his sinker, helped him locate pitches better, and he's able to throw more strikes while walking less batters. I know it's unusual for pitchers in their 30s to tweak something and have such positive results, but since this was such a significant change with his arm slot, I can see it being sustainable. He did it all last year, and it looks like he's starting to do it again this year as well. Definitely someone to look at if you need pitching help. I think he could be a solid end of the rotation guy in all 12-team leagues throughout the second half of the year. Okay, that's it for the waiver wire section. I know it wasn't as large or as deep as it normally is in past videos. Well, that's because the All-Star break happened, so there wasn't any new baseball, new players emerging, or getting new data that we could really dive deeper besides these guys that I think you need to stash off the IL, or like I said, Sean Manaea just coming back off the IL. Okay, but for this new segment, we're going to go over 5 players, maybe 6, that could potentially skyrocket in value after the trade deadline if things fall their way. So that would either be a player getting traded to a new team, so as a new opportunity and new surrounding. A player may be buried in the depth chart and then they trade off a starter, and now that spot's now opened up for them to get everyday run. Or 3, for the instance, in relievers and closers. If the closer gets traded, the next guy up immediately gets bumped up into that closer role and can accumulate saves in bunches. So the first guy on this list, we're going with Jordan Lawler, and he's in that second scenario where he's buried on the depth chart and where I think Suarez is almost certainly going to be traded at the deadline, and that's going to open up a spot for him for everyday at-bats. The Diamondbacks should switch their focus to developing young talent like Lawler and give him every opportunity to blossom into that power speed threat that we've all been waiting for. I know he's injured right now with not that many updates about him, but the history of grade 1 hamstring strains, he should be back right around the deadline or right after. Lawler's first stint in the majors went about as poorly as you can imagine, going 0 for 19, but he's hit 17 home runs and 22 steals with a .334 average in 81 career AAA games. Lawler has all the talent in the world, and I want him on my team if he's going to be able to get a chance to showcase that over the second half of the season. I know there's risks involved, but I'm always chasing upside. You guys know that, and he's oozing with it. Next up on the list, it's Dylan Lee, and he's that third option where the closer in front of him, Iglesias, is likely to be traded, or at least there's a good chance that he's traded, and he'll immediately step into that closer role for still a decent team. Like, I still think Atlanta's going to be very competitive over the second half of the season, where he has a chance to accumulate a ton of saves. Lee is a 3-pitch pitcher with a wipeout slider, a 94-mile-per-hour four-seamer that generates 17 to 18 inches of vert, and a changeup that he paints down and away. Save seekers take notice. Lee is worth the gamble if Iglesias ends up getting traded. Let's keep rolling with the same situation. That's Cade Smith. Now, I think this is a little bit less likely than the situation we just talked about in Atlanta. I don't know if Cleveland's going to trade Clase, but if they do, Cade Smith's going to step into that closer role, and I think he can be immediately a top 5 closer to finish off the year. I know we've talked about him so much. He's absolutely nasty. He'll have sick peripherals. He'll have sick strikeout numbers. And again, Cleveland won't be that bad. Depending who else they trade, they'll still be competitive. So he should get a ton of save opportunities. Cade Smith is definitely the definition of a lottery ticket. If Clase gets traded, he is going to the moon. Next up, we have Owen Casey, and we talked about him a lot in my prior video. So if you want to see a more in-depth analysis, you can watch that video here. But if the Cubs do go make a splash, the word around the street is that Casey will be involved, depending the type of player that they want to get in return. And there is just no room in Chicago. That outfield is loaded with Happ, Suzuki, PCA, and Tucker. Casey has no path to playing time there this year, and a team trading for him or a team getting him back should give him every opportunity to showcase his skills, showcase his talent, showcase that elite, ridiculous power over the second half of the season. I would like to buy one lottery ticket, please. That just reminded me of the "What's up, brother?" Shout out to Sketch. And the last guy, or two, I should say, is Drake Baldwin and Sean Murphy. So right now, they're both kind of cucking each other with their playing time, both cucking their fantasy values because they're not getting consistent at bats, or at least not enough bats to make them useful for fantasy. The hope is that Murphy gets traded and then he'll get consistent playing time on another team, and then Baldwin will get all the playing time he can handle with Atlanta. I can honestly see them both finishing as top 12 catchers if Murphy gets dealt. And a top 12 catcher makes them playable. Also, one last guy. This is a bonus guy. We're going 7 deep here, and that's Luis Robert Jr. And I know he's been awful this year, but he has the potential. He's shown flashes in his past. He had a monster game tonight. Maybe he's motivated for teams to trade for him. I know he probably wants to get out of Chicago. He's probably down in the dumps there. Maybe a change of scenery shifts his mindset, gives him some more motivation, gives him more willingness to work on his game, show up every day and put in that work with a new perspective, teammates, and coaches. He is a power speed guy that can be very useful if he puts his mind to it and showcases some of that buried talent that I still think is in there. Just gotta dig it out, man. Come on. Okay, boys, now it's time for the shallow league segment. And all these roster rates are going to be based off Yahoo percentages. I'm going to try and not highlight anybody over a roster rate of 60%. So these players will be useful for people in 8-man leagues, 10-man leagues, and some 12-man leagues. So make sure you check it out, see if they're floating on their wire, and see what I have to say about them. Okay, first up, we got Nick Kurtz, ranked 7th in his last 30, 5th in his last 14. A guy I've talked about so much. Clearly, Bailey is excited as I am that Kurtz is still under the 60% threshold, so I get to include him again in this segment. And if you guys are sick of it, oh well, too bad. I think I'm just a fanboy at this point, and I think he's on the fast track to superstardom. And I think the scary thing is that he's only going to get better. He's only 22 years old. The sky is legit the limit for him. I don't know why he's not universally rostered. Someone let me know. Next up, we have Cam Smith, who's ranked 40th in the last 30 days, and his roster rate actually dropped 4% in the last day or so, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. I know he's went through a little cold streak, but he's coming up to the All-Star break. Maybe he's looking forward to a much-deserved break, drinking Coronas on a beach somewhere. Like, it is Rona season. Can you really blame the guy? I love Smith's upside and potential, and similar to Kurtz, at only 22 years young, the sky is the limit for him. This roster rate should be higher. Next up, we have Evan Carter, another homer pick of mine, and when this guy's been healthy this year, he's actually been pretty productive at the dish. He has 4 home runs, 18 RBI, and most importantly, 12 steals in 42 games this year. His stats would look a little bit better too if he didn't go 0 for 11 in the 4 games before he went on IL with that quad injury. Potentially, he was trying to battle through it. You never really know, and he just ended up not being able to do it, so they threw him on IL. Carter isn't going to dominate by any means, but he's cut his strikeout rate down to 18% from 26% last year. And if Carter's going to be a consistent threat on the base paths this year, he can be very useful in 12-team leagues. Again, he's a young guy, lots of potential, lots of upside. His roster rate should be higher. We keep going with Kyle Stowers, who's right at that 60% threshold again. And man, what a game he had to end before the All-Star break, going 5 for 5 with 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. And I just love it for him that it was against the team that traded him, Baltimore. Just kind of rub it in their face, saying, hey, maybe if you let me have some consistent playing time there, I could have showcased this, I could have displayed this, and I could still be on your team helping you out right now. And yes, I am still kicking myself for dropping him in one of my leagues. Oh, and it also looks like the Orioles are doing the same thing again that they did with Stowers, not giving him playing time to show that he belonged with Kobe Mayo. What are you guys doing, Baltimore? Come on. And last up for the hitters, we're going Kerry Carpenter. An underrated source of power, he absolutely demolishes right-handed pitching. He can struggle against lefties, so you can expect him to sit against them a majority of the time, which does hurt his value. All Carpenter's hard hit metrics are in the upper half of the league, with an average exit velocity over 91 miles per hour, a hard hit rate over 45%, and a barrel rate right around 13.6%. You would like to see him take a few more walks. The guy's just up there hacking, evidenced by his 2.5% walk rate, which is in the first percentile of the league, one of the lowest marks in the entire MLB. He definitely gets a huge boost in daily lock leagues when you can start him in against a righty and sit him against a lefty. First up for the pitchers, we got Emmett Sheehan. And I know when I talked about him, I know when I highlighted him in previous videos, the one glaring concern was about his rotation spot when the LA Dodgers started getting healthy pitchers like Snell back into the rotation. But with the news that Dustin May is going to the bullpen when Blake Snell comes off IL, I think this means that Sheehan's spot in the rotation is relatively safe for the foreseeable future, which is absolutely huge for his fantasy value. I think Sheehan is a must-grab guy in 12s, evidenced by his immense upside. He has a nice 4-pitch arsenal with a high 90s heater, a glove side slider, a nice down and low changeup, and the odd curveball to help him against left-handed hitters. His upside is huge. His roster rate should be higher than 60%, especially with the news of Dustin May returning to the bullpen when Snell returns. Next up, we have Landon Roop, and I really like his approach to left-handed batters lately. He's going sinkers, and then he's going curveballs and changeups down low and away, and it's really working for him. It's really raised his floor for fantasy. He's always been solid against righties. He should be right around a strikeout per inning. He has relief pitcher eligibility for those that chase that. I like his floor. I like his ceiling. I like his potential. His roster rate should be higher than this. I want him on most of my teams in need of a pitching bump. Next up, we have Yuri Perez, a repeat from last week's video. And man, his four-seamer is just on fire right now. He is dominating with it. It generated 11 whiffs in his last outing, which is disgusting. That makes 3 great starts in a row now for Perez. I expect huge things from him in the second half of the season. As long as he can get his secondaries, as long as he can get that feel for his secondaries and be a bit more consistent with them. The upside and potential are just so massive here. I could legit see him having league-winning potential over July, August, and into September. I think he's a guy that should be universally owned. Next up, we got Reese Olson, and Reese's Pieces is pitching tonight, Friday, as I'm recording this, so hopefully he doesn't let me down. I know his first 2 starts coming back off IL haven't been that great, and we're definitely a far cry from that dominance that he displayed in the beginning of the season. Once he gets a feel for that elite changeup slider combo, which, by the way, has the highest whiff rate of any other pitcher in the MLB besides Mackenzie Gore, I think it'll be off to the races for him. His secondaries and sinker are so vital to his arsenal because I don't think he has that good of a 4-seamer. I think it's very average, and it can tend to be hit very hard, and a lot of damage that does come against him is when he has to throw it. Hopefully he pitches well tonight. Let's see him get locked in. I legit think he could have starting pitcher 2, starting pitcher 3 upside for the second half of the season. And last up, we got Cam Schlittler. And even if you don't think he's a good pitcher, which I do think he is a good pitcher, you need to pick him up still just for the endless amount of fantasy team names that you can produce from a last name like that. Schlittler, baby. But anyways, I know we talked about him in my last video, and the one big major thing of concern was his rotation spot when Luis Gil returns. Now, Luis Gil is supposed to return soon. So again, it's not set in stone what's going to happen with Schlittler's rotation spot. But I just hope the Yankees do what's right, put Stroman to the bullpen. Again, I always say talent always prevails. The Yankees got to see it. The Yankees got to know. I can't predict the future, but if I'm going to bet, if I'm going to punch my lottery ticket, I'm going to say Schlittler's going to be in the rotation to the end of the year, and you're going to be holding him, and you're going to be happy you have him in 12-team leagues. Okay, and like I said in the intro, there'll be no recap this week because of the All-Star break. I like to give at least 2 weeks of data, 2 weeks a game for these players before we review them. I appreciate everyone hanging out, watching these videos, commenting down below. Again, I'll respond to every single comment, every video. And thanks for some of you giving some pointers in the last video. I do appreciate it. I'm just a dad. I'm just a girl dad figuring this out. I'm terrible at technology. You guys are on this ride as I'm learning how to do this whole YouTube thing. So I do appreciate it. And if you notice something or you want to see me do something different, just let me know. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm a big boy. I'll be all right. I just want to learn, get better, and keep putting out better videos for you guys. I'm super addicted to this YouTube thing. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. As always, thanks for hanging out. Have a good weekend. Have any of you guys been staying right to the very end when I'm putting in a little mini hoop action? I've been wondering if you guys have noticed it or you guys just swipe off the video right for the last couple seconds. But anyways, take it easy and I'll see you guys next week.